All right, I'm David with Resident Undead and the Mad Project. Today I have the special opportunity to be with Michelle Belanger. We're here talking about the Inspiration House, but right now we're going to take a little bit of a turn.
Yeah.
The first thing I'd like to ask you about, we've explained as a team to our viewers multiple times how the ripples in time work.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know what you think about the ripples in time.
First of all, I think that they are a brilliant answer to the usual, like, televised version of, like, go to a haunted place and poke a ghost with a stick until it does something. Like, while you get a result, it's not usually a good one.
Yep.
And after a while, that is just dumb. Like something is going to bite back. But you still want to stir things up in some way. So the idea behind the ripples in time, as I understand them, is like I watch them in process. In a lot of ways is the same thing that happens when somebody goes into a house and renovates it and kicks up activity. You change things. You change something that the ghosts are engaged in and invested in, and you get their attention with something that's familiar first, you draw them in, and then you toss them a curveball. And in almost all cases, when you put in that little bit of wrong information or something that, like, you're actively trying to go like, well, we think it went this way, and you know what? If you really want to talk, correct us. It gives them, it's a compassionate way to engage. It's a far more reasonable way to engage, and I've seen it again and again get a lot of response. One of the things that I'd seen when working with a number of different groups that did investigations, like, you know, doing an investigation, it's not just one person with a camera. Even if it looks like one person with a camera, it's many people. You've got sound people. You've got it takes an entire army to make any of these things work. And when that many people descend on a haunted location, quite frankly, most spirits are shy, or they're just like, well, screw you. I don't have to perform tonight. Like I can just, you know, F off, and I can come back tomorrow when it's quieter. Like, you know, you've invaded their space. So you have to give them something, and just poking around and going like, if that was you that knocked on the wall, could you do it again? I mean, put yourself in the ghost's place. Seriously, like, how? You're just going to be standing back there in the invisible realm going, what's wrong with this bastard? What the hell?
And we have gotten some responses as to where they feel like we're putting on a show.
Yeah.
Like a theater type thing for them. So.
But even that still is, you're engaging them.
Yeah.
And again, you're not just poking them to get a response without awareness that there's probably people on the other end of that response. And I think that's the other thing, is like you acknowledge the humanity of what you're probably dealing with.
Yeah. Instead of just going into a basement and screaming.
Yeah, yeah.
What we love so much about this is the fact that in our own way, we are helping to preserve history and even make our own history. How do you think, as paranormal investigators, how do we help, in a sense, I guess, create history, or how do we impact history?
Well, I mean, the ripples are recreations in a lot of ways, and recreations are both educating the audience, but you have to educate yourselves as well first. So I think there's definitely like there's an level of engagement there, and to me, so much about history is telling stories, not just the big broad points that have made it to the history books, but the individual moments. And the ripple style of investigation really puts a spotlight on that. But on a bigger sense, like, you guys really have started to seek out locations that would otherwise be lost and forgotten and pull together to preserve them. And sure, the fact that they're haunted is a perk, but you could leave them in disrepair. You could knock walls down or dress them up. Like, there was one of the poor houses in southern Ohio that I did a photo shoot at back in like 2005. And it was haunted, like those tend to be. And the guy who had it was just turning it into a haunted attraction, which had like cheesy Bela Lugosi knockoff mannequins and just like the most, it was just the saddest stuff to be doing to this place. And he didn't care that the roof was falling in or that, like, you know, there was mold everywhere. Just didn't care because it didn't serve his purpose. And so you guys could totally be, I don't care. You know, I'm going to this, we're going to get this place, and the creepier it is, the better. The more run down, the better. But you actually take all of the money and all of the work, and you put it back into the place.
And there's so many people out there that just don't, either they don't think about it, or they just don't, like you said, they don't care enough.
Yeah, the Lake County Poorhouse, which is the History Center, is one of the only other places where I've really seen that play out, where like they will open their doors to an investigation every year to raise money for the Historical Society. And every time I went back, that money was obviously put in there, in the man hours and the volunteer work. I think a lot of people don't realize how much blood, sweat, tears, and lack of sleep go into trying to refurbish these buildings and make them safe and comfortable and good places to also explore and sort of like bridge the gap between now and then.
Yeah, and going back to just the historical aspect, people often forget just how much history matters.
Yeah.
If we don't look at where we came from, we're bound to make the same mistakes, or we're going to inevitably screw something up.
Yeah.
So if we don't know where we came from, how can we progress?
No, absolutely.
One thing Becca talked to me about today that I was to come to you with was, apparently I have a unique ability to really interact on an emotional level with spirits.
Okay.
I don't quite see it, but maybe you could elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, what I'll say instead is what I've seen you do, because I watch everyone and everything, like when I go to investigations. And first of all, what I would describe you as is the rock of the team. Like, you not only are you a physically big presence, but you are a grounding element. You keep your cool and you help everybody else keep their cool. You're really super chill and laid back, and that has a huge effect on the moving parts of the group. And so like you create a foundation and a balance for everybody. And when the investigation is going on, that kind of like deep energy that you bring, when things get like really, really intense, like intense to the point where bad stuff might start to happen, like it might overwhelm people, you kind of have like this meter of like, okay, no, this is seriously kind of like freaking me out. Nope, this all needs to stop now. And you do. You make it cool down. And you don't do it consciously. And that's actually probably a good thing, because people who have to do it consciously, like it almost takes too much thinking to try to make it work. But it's just your nature. Like you are this calming force. And I think that that's part of the fact that you can connect emotionally. Like, I think way too many people would see like a big guy like you and be like, oh, that's just, big, dumb, whatever. A rock means like, something that nothing gets through, that you're dense. And that's not at all the case. You are a considered, observant, quiet person that people should really be worried about, like what's going through your head in the corner, because you're catching everything. And kind of like the barometer emotionally of like every single person on your team. You know when stuff's going to hit the fan. And you very quietly find ways to go deal with that. And again, that level of emotional intelligence, and the fact that you do it without much fanfare, and you're just Woolever.
There you go. I do want to, there was a very fun thing we recently filmed at the Monroe house.
Yeah.
And you brought out some dowsing rods. That kind of started to freak me out a little bit.
No, that was weird. That was weird. Like it was just like zoop right to you every single time. Like so whenever I'm playing with toys like that, I'm like, okay, is it me doing the thing? Is it the ghost doing the thing? Is it some other thing doing the thing? Is it not the ghost doing the thing? And at first I'm like, okay, it's just your energy. Like it's just picking you out in the room. But it started to really have kind of a neener, I'm doing a thing just because it's getting a rise. So I'm like leaning more toward there was an intelligence behind how that was happening. But it wouldn't have surprised me if they were gravitating toward your energy, because there is sort of like this energy sink, this energy well that you are. It doesn't surprise me also that you don't really feel that you feel energy, because you're such a point of calm. Like, for things to actually break through that, it would have to be the equivalent of on fire.